kid. It's just ever since then, man, it never stopped. Most people grow up after they get past like, I don't know what, 20, 25. I don't know what's that age where you break that line. But Kuma grow up? Nah, never grew up.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Having a hard time finding that line exactly when I'm supposed to be putting down the games and not and picking up, I don't know, a briefcase. I still haven't picked the briefcase up.
Me and you both, man. Me and you both.
Okay, so talking a little bit specifically now more about the actual Kumas collection, what can you tell us a little bit about the journey of the collection, the Krypto Kuma collection itself, and what it's gone through to get to where it is and what it represents today?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it all started off. I'm a big fan of Japanese culture as well, so like that's always been something that's really caught my attention. Big fan of like Dragon Ball Z and manga and even like things like Astro Boy and like early 1950s, 1960s kind of Japanese style stuff. So just always been a big fan of Asian culture. So it was something that really gravitated me in the direction of the Kumas. For anyone that's not aware, Kuma is actually the Japanese word used for bear. So that's actually why Kumas are bears. So if you ever hear the word Kuma, you know that it is why it is a bear. So that was kind of my general direction with the Kumas initially, is that I just wanted to have something that followed that Japanese culture that I love to do so much, and cartoons as well. So for me, the Kumas are a passion project. This is literally my dream come true. Like if there was anything that if I fell off of this earth tomorrow, that if I didn't do this before I left, I'd be like, God damn it, like never got to live that dream out. So honestly, this is something for me. I get to experience what I had always wanted to experience. I was a big fan of the cartoons and everything like that, and watching the making of and all the behind the scenes and all the artists putting different things together and just stuff like that. It was always something that just interested me a lot. So to take the time to like map out stuff and to correctly approach something, that's kind of how the Kumas had come about. And it's been about a year and some change now. I want to say we're pushing, got to be almost like a year and a half or something. Mm-hmm. I think I've been around. So it's been an interesting ride, man. Definitely an interesting ride.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting, like how much yourself and your collection has gone through. And I mean, a year is not really that long a time. And outside of crypto space, a year is not that long of a time for the rest of the world. So it's like it seems like a lot has happened. If you had the ability to change anything about how you delivered the Kumas, what would you have done differently?
That's a good question. I'd have to say in the beginning that I wish that maybe I would have studied the space a little bit more before I had approached the Kumas. You know what I mean? Just to comprehend what it was, and maybe how to properly mint a collection, and just to slowly take your time coming into things. You know what I mean? Because I was kind of so excited upon the fact that I could do it myself that, I did maybe premeditate the idea and kind of get a general approach coming into the NFT space. But I think that it helps just being around for at least maybe a couple months or so to study things and to really calculate it all and put it together. So for me, if anything, I would have maybe slowed down a little bit and took a more calculated approach coming into things.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely slowing down and making sure you read the fine print and fully grok what you're about to step into is good advice for almost anybody or anything you're getting into. Thank you, Kuma, for running us through a little bit more about yourself and the collection and a little bit of experience. And we're going to come back to you to hear your perspective more specifically on branding. More specifically on branding a little later in the call today. So let me now turn on over to welcome to the stage for the first time on our Wax Wednesday birthday. We'll have Drawn Company. Matt, it's a pleasure to have you. Would you please introduce yourself and give a little bit of the history on how you found yourself making art on the blockchain?
No, that's a question everyone in this space will regret in 10 minutes time. So let's do me first of all. So I'm a 40-something male who lives in the UK. I'm the same as Kuma. I'm into pop culture. I'm a geek at heart. Always been a geek. Geek by nature. And I've through my career, my professional career, I've had lots of different jobs. So I've been a professional DJ. I've worked for Disney. I've worked as you know in bars, in pubs, in clubs, in entertainment. I'm currently working in a job which sees me dealing with stuff in the UK public sector, like for councils and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But I've always had sort of like an underlying ability and a talent for sort of like graphics. And where Drawn Company really came from is the fact that I'm not really funny enough to be a comedian, although I can be really funny, and I'm not really good enough to be a graphic designer. But if we put comedy and the design together, we come out with something that's truly unique and beautiful. So that's sort of like you know, where I've been, what I've done. And the way I arrived in the space was uh, last year I was playing Call of Duty like every night, and I thought I was happy. But being a creative soul, I was always sitting there, you know, trying to get kill streaks, thinking, Matthew, you need to be doing something creative that's going to sort of like tax you. So you need to find something. And it got to a point. I mean, this is quite sad. I don't know whether people can relate to it. And I'm not saying it's sad if this is your hobby and you enjoy it. That's fine. That's cool. At one point, I was thought, well, I might get some Warhammer figures and start painting them again because at least that's doing something other than playing video games or building big Lego sets because that's my other passion. Um, and yeah, basically, I came into the space last November, and I was brought in by the allure of the Hot Wheels trading cards. You know, the Hot Wheels brand, and seeing that Funko was on there as well. Obviously, didn't know that I was coming onto the Wax blockchain and what I was quite letting myself in for at the time. So started collecting in November. In January, I was struck down with COVID early January, and literally, I sort of like I was the illest I've ever been. I was the you know I haven't been as ill. I felt like I was a 5-year-old kid again. Like I'd forgotten how ill you can be as a human being. But I was sitting there thinking, do you know what? Right, same position as Kuma again. There's creator tools here, so let's have a go. Um, and I've probably got a world record whitelisting because I was really creative with my application. Don't try this at home, kids. Um, but like yeah, and I sort of got through within sort of like 72 hours, which was really good because I know what I'm doing with filling out forms. You know, there's a lot of sort of like what one of the problems with the NFT space is I think it's so inaccessible for people. Like and that's through no fault of anyone's because if you're in the environment, you don't see the problems of
Hmm.
people coming in from the outside. So yeah, did a couple of doodles. And what I did was, for speed's sake, to get stuff onto the blockchain as fast as I could, I used some isometric assets which I created for my day job because I do a bit of a design job in my day job, and I basically I'd been using these isometric people, and there was all sorts of things to do with the office, and I was sending like memes to my friends, so they were just funny, even cruder and ruder than the Drawn Company stuff. I mean, it was pretty choice. Hope none of that stuff ever comes out in a paper or something like that. But it was very choice, and I thought, you know what, I'll do that. And I came up with sort of like a way I was going to present it. I did it, and I just went from there basically. So I started off with an initial collection of sort of like 12 NFTs based on what I'd seen other people doing, and made loads of mistakes to start off with, which was great fun. But here I am sitting here, you know, it's what's it been, 6 months, and you know it's great to be here and be able to share the experience with others.
Thank you. You mentioned that you had already had some of these assets created in your other job. Is there, and it was almost kind of just almost led directly from having your assets going. I guess you toned it down a little bit and then putting these right on the chain. Was there any other process or conceptualization that you ran through before moving from directly from those assets and memes right onto the chain? Was there any other, like, I don't know, cinnamon spices added in when you're minting your NFTs?
No, not really. I mean, they were fairly simple PNGs to start off with. So the evolution of what I've done has been all self-taught. First of all, what are my limitations? Well, I know that I can sell a PNG or JPEG. So how am I going to make a JPEG that stands out from everybody else's? And that was where the
Mhm.
humor came in, you know. And I've always played on the fact that the design itself isn't the best because it's not the best, but it's cute in its own way. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
Um,
yeah,
I
it's
always say
endearing.
to people, if you look at one, it looks rubbish, but when you look at it as a collection, it looks beautiful. Even if I do say so myself. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I totally get what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Good, good
Um,
little- mhm.
so
It's just
sorry, yeah,
there's something about what makes a collection a collection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah,
consistently seeing them all next to each other. It's like I get geeked out like that too. Like if I happen to be in someone else's wallet looking at
Mhm.
their Kuma collection, oh man, it's just a different feeling.
yeah, 100%, man.
Okay, and then so the last question before I'll hand back to Snazzy. Matt, do you have what is your dream vision for where you want to take Drawn Company in the future?
Well, I don't know because I'm a blue sky thinker. So I'm always reaching for the stars. So where do I see Drawn Company going? I see Drawn Company as a stepping stone into Web3. So essentially, what I'm building here is sort of like a legacy, like my dad did, buying
Right.
a house and stuff like that. But I'm putting stuff onto the blockchain so that Mr. Kiki, my son, who's two, they might have added value in 20 years time. We don't know where this space is going, but I really see it as a launch pad into something, into the industry itself, into something bigger. And I'm having real fun building Drawn Company and also having a sort of like large overarching aim because the space moves so quickly that like you can't say what you're going to be doing in a month's time. When you're an independent creator, it's really hard to tie yourself down and say, right, I'm going to do this. Then you really can't because something new happens. There's a new innovation. There's always a curveball coming out of left field. So you have to be prepared for that. So yeah, it's taking Drawn Company as far as I am. I will make Drawn Company NFTs until people stop buying them. If people stop buying them, I'll either make them better or I'll move on to something else. But at the minute, it's just about sort of like building building the brand, the Drawn Company brand.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks both Kuma and Matt from Drawn Company. Let me hand you back off to Snazzy.
Sorry about that. Somebody called me right as you had finished.
Like, oh, here goes another rug.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't rug because Twitter Spaces are like that today. But I really love the introductions that you two did because when I was setting up the space call, I was so excited to have the opportunity to really highlight the work that both of you have done to really take your collection to the next level by putting so much effort into the branding side of things itself. And really, before we dig into the conversation, I wanted to address the stigma that exists right now around the idea of indie artists and the word branding. It's not sacrificing your artistic integrity whenever you focus on branding your collection. It's more about strategizing a direction to show and display a cohesive, recognizable style and story. It stems from color palettes, frequent shapes or textures, logos, media posts, website layouts, even your own voice and diction on social platforms can add to your brand itself. And creating these assets with the intention of being cohesive is a great way to just level up your collections. And Krypto, Kumas and Drawn Company have come a very long way in the space when it comes to branding. And I would love to hear from both of them how they really felt like the current aesthetic that they have for their collections was the right way to go in the process.
Do you want to take that first?
Yeah, sure. Why not, man? I mean, for me, I kind of also like as far as drawn, like when I first started with designing and art and things like that, or at least in a digital format, other than just from drawing on paper. So, I mean, I've always been a big fan of drawing. Always, young kid that always liked to scribble on stuff, and it just stuck with me. But as I got into doing more digital style work, it was always more design and more logo type stuff. So I do logo work for friends and, different things that, someone wanted to, spend a couple of bucks to kind of get a cheap quality logo. I'd kind of always like filled that niche. I mean, mostly for friends and things like that. But so as far as coming up with like that branding, like just making a logo look strong enough to where that just it alone could stand by itself and have the same representation for all of your brand, all in one image. You know what I mean? So that is tough to pull off. So yeah, for me, the branding end of things was super important. And honestly, following in the footsteps of a lot of those things that I talked about earlier that I loved, cartoons, Japanese culture, Funko as well. Like I'm a big physical Funko collector. I think I have like 200 plus Funko Pops at this time. We'll talk about it later. I know it's an addiction. I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, got a lot of Funko Pops. So I just have always followed suit. So like the stylized characters and the well branded logo and all these different things that I honestly had just studied, things that I enjoyed that had then rubbed off onto my collection, and I pretty much had learned how to do those things from consistently being associated with good branding as far as being as a fan of pop culture that I was. So I think constantly having good, strong brands in front of your face. So being a collector, I think, that's where you're going to be those closest to those good, strong brands that know how to do those things. So for me, it was really just following in footsteps to a certain degree. But then also as things move on, you have to learn how to then kind of keep up that same imagery without then just directly taking from your source material. So as things have gone on and the Kuma brand grows stronger, it's like Snazzy was saying, different color themes and, that consistent stylized visual that you want to see. For me, when you see Kuma or hear the word Kuma, like I would 9 times out of 10 want you to think bear or, like it's just enough to where when you see it, you associate it with what that brand is. So whether you see the head or the logo itself, or maybe even the strong white outlines of any of my logos, all of those things are things that kind of consistently stand out on behalf of the brand. But yeah, that's kind of my take on at least branding and some of the things the directions that I've went when it comes to the Kuma specifically. But John, man, why don't you hit them with what you got, bro? I know you're definitely pretty good at executing the branding as well. Me and John are also good friends in the space, so it's definitely to see us get up here and have the chance to talk to you guys, give us kind of our little input or whatever experience that we might have to offer. So no, I definitely appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man, every day is a school day. So for me, I think the space is 80% branding and like 20% NFT. And I think we see that when we see like big projects. There are some projects out there which launch and they've got a Twitter, and they've got 10,000 followers and they've just put up one picture. What's that? That's building, a lot of anticipation through the brand, gaining excitement. So I think it's absolutely vital. And the space is so competitive that like if you don't have, a clear brand, like you're just going to get lost. You're just going to get lost in the noise. When you look at the feed, it's just like you're bombarded with tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet. And I think, the way I approach it with Drawn Company is you have to acknowledge that Web3 is different. It's all cool and we're sticking it to the man and we're all over here. But it's not the fundamentals, everything that Schnazzy said, another absolutely exemplary introduction to this segment. That was beautiful. Really good sum up. I haven't left us much to talk about really because you covered it all. But it's so competitive, I think the way I've done it is creating characters. And the interesting thing about the way the characters are developed with Drawn Company is I've given people Karen, and then it's almost like in a soap opera. When people who are talking about that are actors on a soap opera, they come up and they get shouted on the street. because that they're mistreating someone else in the TV program. I know we get that a lot in the UK with Coronation Street and EastEnders. People think the character is them, and I get people coming round to me and saying, "Well, I don't think Karen would do that. I don't think Kevin would do that." And that you've got such a strong brand that it doesn't matter really, and I don't have to do much work then because everybody else is creating the brand for me. And that's not because I'm lazy. That's just because of the way it's organically worked out and the nature of the space, and because we are so interactive. But I completely agree, with Snazzy. She was talking about strategy. There's no strategy in the space whatsoever. And there'll be people in this space who are turning their noses up at that, and there'll be people elsewhere who'd say, no, there is a lot of strategy going on. It's not. It's all ad hoc, which is great because it's an innovative space, but you still have to take that step back, like I do, and think, okay, I need to sort of I need to smell what sells, and I need to make more of that. But why is the stuff that I'm selling, and why is this stuff not selling? It's as simple as that, really. And I mean, if you look at just one more thing, and I'll let someone else have the floor. Snazzy said a very interesting point, which is it comes down to colors, and you picked up on that, Krypto Kumas. I think it goes even more finite than that. And if you go to my Twitter page and give me a follow, because I'd love that. But if you look at my pinned tweet, because I'm doing my next mini collection, the anime action figures, is going to be trading and blending orientated. I always just attach to the bottom of the tweet those 3 words: collect line, trade line, blend, and that sort of adds to the tweet. So that came from someone, a creator who was frustrated, and he turned around and said, "I don't understand why people don't know what blending is, And I'm like, well, do you tell them that we have to blend? And by using the word blend, do you know what happens? If people don't know, they come and ask me what that is. Simple things like that. I mean, the Drawn Company brand is, it looks quite superficial, and it's like we're just doing fart jokes 90% of the time. But there's a lot of wiring underneath the hood. And we'll hopefully unpack that later on. I hope that answers your question.
It really does. And I love a couple of points that you had made. And before we get into those, I wanted to address that you think that Drawn Company looks superficial. I completely think that Drawn Company takes a very professional approach whenever it comes to branding, in the sense of the way that you have curated all of your posts, all of the advertisement posts, to even the types of packs that you open up, to the boxes that the figures and statues come in. It's all very consistent and cohesive. So whenever I see Drawn Company and Krypto Kumas, both of them look very thought intensive when it comes to design and the orientation of how you presented it within the collection itself. So
I guess you're right. But I'm a very self-critical person. So and that's great for you to say that, because that means a lot to me coming from you, Snazzy. So yeah, I am overly critical. It's one of my flaws. But yeah, it has that underlining. It's got the continuity, I think, and I sort of know that. But I always think there's room for improvement.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit, because I think by having that critical eye, you also get to see different ways to address things whenever it comes to making sure the collection is visually cohesive. So how would you recommend existing collections to be able to reflect on their own creations, and what should they be looking for to reflect on to upgrade their collections?
So for me, it's research, right? You've just got to put yourself out there. And I was doing this when I did Digicon school this week in the Wax Alliance, but we'll talk about that later on. But it's research. It's looking at what other people are doing, and it's as simple as, again, not just doing a scattergun approach. You've got to find similar collections that are doing something similar to what you're doing. We're not looking to rip people off here, right? We're not looking to go to Crypto Kumas and look at what he's doing and carbon copy it. You need to look at what's working for them and apply the same principles, because you don't want to be just taking someone's ideas or just something that's happening, because you'll get found out in the end because you'll run out of stuff to do, I guess. But that's the starting point for me is and the way I approach stuff is like the newest drop that I've done. I'll just put stuff out there like a logo to start off with and see if people react to that. So with the anime, for action figures, I hadn't even drawn one action figure and I was just teasing it. Do you know what I mean? So that's a way I actively market. So I started off with just the Japanese text. I purposely didn't put it in a tweet. It was in a picture. So people started to try and work out what that was. So yeah, I think that there's many ways, but the core way that I do it is let's look at other people, see what they're doing, and how can I apply that to Drawn Company and maybe do it better.
I think that provides a good baseline, like you had said, and there is so much room for innovation here. So if you see something and it inspires you to try something new, definitely try it out. Because like you had said before, it's just all about having that baseline and the inspiration and to see what does exist, to have the foundation of what you should be able to deliver in the beginning. And I think that's a really key, important aspect of like the research aspect, as you had said before. So thank you for that. I would like to talk a little bit about the Wax Alliance now, because both of you and Kumas have taken such a different approach to education when it comes to onboarding newcomers into the Wax's creative ecosystem.
Okay, yeah. So, do you want to go first, Krypto Kumas? Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. What's up, guys? Yeah. So, I mean, I'll let Drawn dig more into the Wax Alliance thing, but yeah, it's definitely some pretty exciting stuff, and was something that I think between Drawn and I mean the community at whole, honestly, it was something that got put together for the sake of the artists and people that were trying to learn and grow in this space. So. Yeah, I'll leave the Wax Alliance talk to Drawn, but for me personally, I try to do a lot of one-on-one with artists, I guess you could say. So you mean if someone that I see that has that potential, or that has some of the things that maybe they're missing little small notes like templates and max caps on things, or maybe they don't tweet enough, or maybe they're not that great at marketing themselves and getting themselves out there, or even finding that branding as well. So, I mean, collectively helping an artist maybe come up with a new Twitter banner that brands well along with their actual Twitter profile picture. And then it also, of course, brands well across their entire collection. And so just giving whatever experience or whatever input that I have here to give. I can't even tell you guys the amount of DMs that I have open all day long. It's just nonstop. So like between group chats and then also personal one-on-one DMs, I try to take the time to teach anyone what I have been able to successfully pull off in this space. So, because I mean, that's for me, that's something that's super important with this technology and this whole Web3 thing that we have here. And I mean, Snazzy and Tommy, you guys have probably heard me go on about it before, but the whole peer-to-peer angle of it, that's something that's with Web 2, in my opinion, that we don't get a lot of that. You don't get a lot of that personalization and that one-on-one love from the artist or whoever it might be. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Funkos and all these things, or even comics and stuff like that. But you know how much I'd kill to get like Mike Mignola in a Twitter space and like have a conversation with him, or like ask him questions about his brand or his property or whatever that it is, just his experiences. So for me, it's the peer-to-peer angle as well. So not just branding, not just being able to be here and to brand something well enough that people then want to then pay for it, but to also just have that opportunity to be even able to do that. So like for the technology end of things, that's where it's always been big for me. So peer-to-peer is really important, like, because you'll see it in your engagement and in your analytics. Like if you don't put forth that real like personalized peer-to-peer connection, you will watch it organically drift away. Like, and it's odd. It's like something that you do have to kind of study about the space. But I think it's a beautiful thing because it allows us to have to stay Web3 for a certain reason. Like, we have this technology that's accessible and we're able to have this one-on-one connection now. I don't think that it's not anything by any means that's going to get rid of Web2. It's going to build on Web2. You know what I mean? So this is, if anything, going to enhance Web2 approaches that we've already had, and having Web3 is just going to then kind of highlight that kind of subject. But yeah, so I mean, that's for me with building with artists and helping anyone that I can, and just giving off any experience or any information that might benefit someone to then take off in their own direction with their collection. I try to do as well. And I know that was something that then Wax Alliance was kind of organized for, was to collectively put that under one roof, to where now everyone kind of has somewhere to go to say, hey, I mean, maybe I need to learn something, you know what I mean? So, and if you feel that way, and if you're willing to accept that and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go try to learn something or try to grow in this space. That's what the Wax Alliance was created for. And Drawn, hand it off to you, bro.
Actually, before you get into the Wax Alliance, Matt, I wanted to point out the importance of peer-to-peer conversations about education and about walking through and holding hands to get them into the tech process of how to mint an NFT, how to market an NFT, what your NFTs mean, what you can do with them on the Wax blockchain, because it's incredibly different from the Ethereum space. And actually, for those of you who may not have known, Krypto, Kumas, and Brett Blackberg both were those people for me that brought me into the Wax ecosystem. By doing this, having these one-on-one conversations, being like, okay, this is what it means to blend, because we don't have that on Ethereum. And that's where I started in. And then he was like, then these are also what you can do with packs. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I didn't know there were all these different types of technology, different technological things you could do with NFTs on the Wax blockchain. And it was really awesome because they would walk me through it, show me how that it happened in their collections, how I could do it in my own. I think at one point we even did like a series of maybe like 50 screenshots to just like help me walk through it, literally holding my hands every step of the way. And it got me to where I am today. And I get to be here. I have a lot of collections on Wax. I get to be behind the Wax blockchain and space calls. It's pushed me really far, and I wouldn't be here without people like Krypto, Kumas, and Blackberg, who are taking the time and giving me the opportunity to really learn and educate in the space. And that's why I love the idea of the Wax Alliance being here, where it's a utility where more people can learn about it, that Drawn Company Matt is putting together and really, really digging into the fine details of what it means to be a creator in the NFT space. And I'll let him talk a little bit more about it now.
Yeah, so the Wax Alliance peeps, if you haven't seen it, we've got a Twitter and we've got a Discord. Basically, it was born out of the fact that I started to realize that I'm from a school of creators. Maybe I'm not in Krypto Kumas school. I put myself in Humble Drawing School, Broken Dolls, and a few others. And I was sort of like, hang on, we've got to a point where we can't really grow as individuals, and we want the blockchain to start taking us seriously. So we need to get everybody on board in the same place. So I went through several iterations before I presented it to people at the last DigiCon. And it was actually, the thing that pushed me over the edge and thought, right, I'm doing this. I was in a space with Nifty Blocks. And someone was moaning about not being able to get on the NFT Insider. And I just turned around and said, well, why are you moaning about that? Because there might be other deeper issues that you can sort out that might make you more attractive to the NFT Insider. All these people are bombarded with DMs like Krypto Kumas just said there, you're coming up the pipe the wrong way. So I went through several iterations of what we were going to do, and then I proposed it to people. And I basically said, look, I want to do three things. I want to create NFTs, in that I want everybody, all the indie creators, to be creating quality and better NFTs than they're creating now. I want to support, through peer-to-peer and workshops, new creators, and even those who are sort of like, inexperienced and believe they might be experienced. And we also want to onboard. So we want to onboard new creators because we've got a great blockchain. And they might not know about us yet, but that, once you show them the tools and how cool it is, and more importantly, how great the community is, that's one of the reasons why, I'm still here, because the community is just fantastic. But I think we're just missing a trick. So onboard new creators, but also onboard big brands. So I think as creators, it should be our duty to start putting our head above the parapet and start saying, well, hang on, there's got to be people with IP out there who are curious about NFTs. Let's just start approaching them. We're not there at with the Wax Alliance yet. We will be there in 12 months' time, right? But it's going to take several iterations over what we're developing and what we're doing. As a sort of prototyping exercise, I'm running Digicon School because that's something that's close to my heart. When I attended my first Digicon, this will be the fourth Digicon that I attended. I found it really difficult, and I completely missed the opportunity because I didn't go about it the wrong way. So from my own experience and the experience of others as well, the great thing about the Wax Alliance and having everyone in a Discord is I had a pre-meeting before I designed the content for that, and I just got everyone together and said, look, tell me, what you wish you knew the first time you went to a Digicon. That sort of shared experience developed the content. And we've now got videos that are up on YouTube and you can go and watch. We've split it into 3 weeks. It's quite good. I know I said I'm quite critical, but I've watched it back and I think, yeah, no, actually, I think people will really learn something from this. And it's not just about the novices. I think there's experienced and expert creators. That's another thing we're doing with the Wax Alliance. We're trying to establish people's proficiency. So we're trying to say, okay, are you a novice? Have you got are you not whitelisted yet? Have you how many NFTs have you minted? Inexperienced, you're probably sort of like you've minted NFTs, you're whitelisted, but you're still not putting your head above the parapet. Experienced, slightly more established collections, and then your experts, the likes of Krypto, Kumas, Corporate World, Broken Dolls, etc. And we've got loads of stuff planned in the pipeline, but it's just finding time to do it all. But Digicon School has gone really well so far. So I think people are learning stuff. And what you were saying about peer-to-peer, Kumas, is great, because we've got 2 people who attended the first Digicon School and they actually buddied up, because I said to people at the end of the presentation, like, you should, well, to be honest, there wasn't many people turn up for the first one because a lot of people wanted to watch it in their own time. I think it's had about 40 views now, the video, which is cool. But there were 2 creators there. One was a game, one was, a novice creator, and they buddied up and they're having an absolute whale of a time working together. Just because they've got that peer-to-peer element, and they're not even necessarily supporting each other. It's just talking through ideas. What are you doing today? Have you set yourself a deadline then? Have you done what Matt talks about in the in Digicon School? So yeah, the sky's the limit there, and of course we're only as good as the people that join. So we just need more people. There's about 100 people in the Wax Alliance at the minute, and we were only just cutting our teeth. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to be running support programs. We're going to be creating guides, tools. We're going to be working together to do drops, comps. There's loads of stuff going on. It's an exciting time to be a member of the Wax Alliance.
Yeah, and it was honestly, it was something that was kind of, for me, it was like, I don't want to say world changing. Maybe that's a little much, but like it the first meeting, I think it occurred at Digicon, if I'm not mistaken. And it was actually pretty cool because, mind you, we were all in a metaverse setting, I guess you could consider it. But we're like all in the beanbag area of Digicon. Like you can all go and sit down in this little area and chat and, so on and so forth. And I mean, the instance had to literally be full. So there was like 35 people all like in this giant group of a circle discussing this conversation on like where something like that needs to head, what would be the purpose of it, this and that. So like for me, like, yeah, this space is beautiful. I've had experience on the ETH side of things as well. I have a lot of friends that have ETH collections, but there's just something different about what we're able to do here on Wax as opposed to what we're able to do on a lot of these other chains. And even just as far as the personalization between collections and creators as well, like there's a certain amount of I don't know, gimme type of thing in anywhere. I mean, this is not just our world here in NFTs, but at least with Wax and the technology and the experience that we have here, it doesn't seem like it's as gimme. Like we're looking for how we can help the next individual in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, it's especially with the Wax Alliance, I think it was something like Dron was saying, it was created in the likes of almost a union of individual creators that, you know what I mean, that come from this community that if anyone had that information or had that experience to hand out to the next person, we felt like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we have all these other platforms. We have the NFT insiders. We have, all these different news outlets and things like that can help us do these things. But we didn't have somewhere where creators could go to say, hey, how do I do these things? And I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking that question, because honestly, I've seen some of the growth of some of these collections that come out of the Wax Alliance, and it's strong. It's like they're branded better. Their approach has a lot more of a premeditated direction towards it, and you see a lot of that in their artwork and in their branding. So I think it does work.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like just making sure. I mean, putting everybody in one place, and we still haven't got everybody, have we? That's the case there. We still after more people, but you just learn. And it's better than, like, we're in a lot of Twitter group chats, aren't we? Where we just basically we have a bit of a chat, but people are just asking for retweets. But it's nice to be able to have somewhere where you can go and ask a question, and because we've got the different channels, and look at what other people are doing at the same time, without it sort of like disappearing like it does in the Twitter feed. But I think we're almost, as a chain, we're sort of like almost creating a rod for our own back, because the thing is that we are, like, when I start to think about Krypto, Kumas, and Drawn Company, we've now got established brands. So, like, it's almost like the sky's the limit, and you come and think this is cool because we're being taken seriously by our peers, by collectors and stuff like that. And you think, well, where do we go to next? And then you start to come onto that, we're going to the moon thing, because I think on a lot of the other chains, they're not building the stories and the characters that we are, because of the nature of what we do. And I'd stake my reputation on the line and say it's not happening, in many places, if anywhere, where you've got these sort of, it's such a pool of strong creators that are working together, growing at a similar rate, but at different sort of like stages in their growth journey, and learning off each other. It's truly beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, like for ETH and stuff, some of the little things that you don't realize is the just even transaction speed. Okay, so like let's say, like, as far as on the sake of innovation, like now when I want to innovate an approach or something that I want to do on ETH, I'm gonna need maybe a Solidity dev that can know how to go in and contract something like that out. I might need certain things that I don't have as much of hands-on capabilities of being able to do. So for me with Wax, that's why have stayed here and will always be here, is because of the hands-on the control that I get to have over everything. I mean, I get to control my contracts. I get to control my artwork, my blends, my creativity, my innovation, all of these things that if I innovated an idea right now, I could be on here pumping it out in seconds. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's really more or less of the tool that Wax provides, with it being so stable and open-ended, and being able to have that direct contact to innovation and being able to just run with it.
Sorry, I just want to build on that. because of the speed, right? And again, because we're talking about branding and like I'm in such a strong position with the Drawn Company brand, right? Like I can think, well, I don't need to. I can still mess around with what I'm going to release next Friday, right up until next Thursday. I don't have to mint until next Thursday because all I've got to worry about is making sure that it looks the best it can for when it launches. I've started to tag on now because it's getting a bit more professional. Um, I've always had a professional edge, but I think that now because you're putting your head above the parapet, you need to start like when I'm doing something that's not the final artwork, I'll say this is not final artwork in the tweet because I don't want someone then to open a pack and then be sad when they haven't got the exact same thing because I think that's important. You don't want people coming to you and saying, well, that's not what I saw in the picture. So yeah, I'm doing stuff like that. I'm conscious of stuff like that, but I think that's the beauty of the space, and it's the space that's given us the flexibility to build the brands that we have. So it's like a circular thing.
I think that was a really great way to answer the question around how you guys really start educating people and how you're still continuing to push forward with education yourselves and seeing the opportunities even within the technology itself to take the time to focus on putting out the best that you can. And I love that perspective, really. I would like to take the time to invite people from the audience below up to join us to ask any of the questions that they may have had on their mind or maybe contribute to some of the conversations that we've been having. Because this has been a really cool conversation, especially about the processes and the thought processes behind what you guys are going through, what you anticipate other people going through, and how you plan to deliver them even the ideas and how to make a better, more cohesive collection. As we're getting those invites to speak up, I would like to ask you guys both about collaborations because I know you both love collaborations. You utilize them a lot. And I'm curious and what your perspective is and how you feel collaborations help you exercise your collection style and contents in a unique way.
I'll go first, just in case, because sometimes Krypto Kumas, I've got a guy that I work with at work, and I have to go before him because he always says everything that I'm going to say plus 2 better points. So, and he's covered a lot of the stuff. So, yeah, I'm really precious about my collabs. Quite pretentious. I've always been. I get lots of people saying I'd like to do a collab with you, but I don't just do collabs for the sake of it. It has to be something that fits in with what I'm doing, and more importantly, with what they're doing. So, for example, me and Krypto Kumas are going to be doing a grabber arm machine for DC Arcade at some point because Krypto Kumas makes cool little bears, so they look cool in a vending machine. I don't want to just go and say I'm going to do a collab with anyone. And of course, you've always got that sort of like you've always got that sort of that they're always the artist that you want to collab with, and it's hard to get the collab. But yeah, I would just say that as regards to collabs and Drawn Company, we do them, but I'm so precious about them. I did one with Humble, which was absolutely amazing. Like I wanted to work with Humble Drawings for a long time, and I said, "Look, I've got this cool new color scheme. Can you do a flower?" And what he created was truly beautiful with the color scheme for Series 3, and that was really nice. And I mean, a lot of stuff I always find with collabs is you go through the process with someone, but then sometimes you don't always get it over the line. But you've always got something then in your back pocket. Like me and Broken Dolls haven't done a collab since Earth Day, and we keep on coming up with these great ideas, and then something else steps in. But yeah, I'm precious. I'm precious about the brands. I like to protect it, so I do them. But I have to. It has to be something that fits for us. Kumas.
Yeah, no, man, well said. Definitely well said. I think that aligning yourself with properties that it makes sense or collections that make sense, you know what I mean? That those are all strong, 100% strong points. like I mean, mind you, for the Kumas, like, oh god, I don't know how many collabs that I have to be at this point. It's got to be like 50 plus or something. Like it's pretty ridiculous how many collabs that I have, but I love it. And honestly, like being or looking at myself as kind of like that Funko of the Wax blockchain or the NFT space in general, being that kind of cute, stylized figure that could almost act as act as the Funko on the chain. So you see a lot of Wax collabs that represent characters or that come from all these different collections. So I mean, God, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's got to be at least good 4 or 5 people in here right now that I've collabed with that have been like really strong collabs, and they're really standout Kumas that are in the collection. Pizza Slice, Brett, Doge, Coyote Plains. I don't think me and Sneak have gotten around to anything yet, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of people here that we've done collabs with. And for me, it's fun because it's getting to take those same properties that I love or those collections and brands that I like to see, and now saying, okay, well now let's make our Funko Pop out of it or our Kuma. So you know what I mean? Then we do the Doge Fella Kuma or the Brett Blackbird Kuma or the Pizza Slice Kumas, which were like a whole pack of them. But like, you know, just seeing these properties stand out like that, and to get to see the two of them kind of shake each other's hands to create something super special. Like for me, that's like unbelievable. Like I said, I mean, obviously Funko is just that. They go around and they get properties, and you see your Dexter's Labs and Power Rangers and this, and, you know, all these properties that we love and characters that we love so much. And I think with the Kumas, that's what I've always wanted to do, is to take these same properties and these characters that we see of collections on the Wax blockchain and really characterize them and give them that kind of stern, solid, stylized look that the Kumas have. So for me, that's kind of what the collabs have always mean. And just on the end of the Kuma collection itself, it's always something that's then born into the lore of our world, so to say. So, you know what I mean? When you have a collab that may drop, now that character is known in the Kuma world, is referenced in the Kuma world. There's been other artworks or other future things that have dug back at old Kumas, like the collab I did with Brett, where he does a 4-page comic book. There's a lot of references at Kumas that people have collected or have seen over the years that then get looked back on and touched on, and kind of get that representation. So for me, it's always super fun to see that, and always nice to get have that hand in hand with those properties.
And of course, I'll just add, because my stuff was, I mean, I haven't, there's still some pretty raw stuff which I'm producing, but because the stuff was so raw with Karen on the photocopy to start off with, I constantly, when I was a fledgling creator, I mean, I still am, but when we were in our sort of like genesis, I was trying to get collabs with people, but everyone was just turning around and saying, "No, sorry, is it just the lady on the photocopier?" Because there's no way I want to do a collab with you.
See, man, that's where I'm different. I'll put a Kuma on a photocopier, bro. I don't care. What's up? What do we want to do? You know what I mean?
Why haven't we done it? And you know what? That would be hilarious.
I would love to see it where you got like different types of photo outcomes too as NFTs. I think that would be fun for the Kumas. You could do one of his face and stuff too. But this has been really exciting. I love hearing your different, because they are mildly different perspectives about how to treat collaborations, because the collections themselves are different. But it's really exciting to hear the two versatile insights that can still find a way to make a collection together, and still really are able to accomplish not necessarily the same goal, but accomplish similar goals and build out your unique IPs into the brand that you guys have today. And it's been really a pleasure getting to know about them. I know Doge Fellas came up to ask a question, so I'm excited to see what he says. Doge Fellas, are you there?
Oh, yeah. You there?
How are you? I just wanted to say I've gotten rugged for about half the space, so I will be going and listening back. But I mostly just wanted to give these two people a huge shout out, and thanks to Snazzy and Tommy and you guys for hosting them, because they've been amazing leaders in the space. And the collab we did with Kumas was so much fun and so rad. But yeah, legitimately just thank you both for your awesome leadership in the space. If anyone down below hasn't gotten into the Wax Alliance and checked it out, or DigiCon School, definitely do it, because it's awesome. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you to you two guys for everything that you've taught me. And thank you to Shazzy and Tommy as well, from the bottom of my heart, for giving us the opportunity to do this stuff. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Doge. Appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it. Honestly, Doge was like right before we had our collab. They were just kind of coming into the space, like just nudging in. Maybe had been around for a while, like studying things. Doge, you're unmuted, bro. There we go. Like we were just studying things and kind of learning the space when they were coming in. And I mean, it's just a small, I think maybe a team of like 3 creators that are behind their indie game that they got. But they were like just kind of, I don't want to say stumbling over the space, but you know, when you come into this space, it's tough. It's tough to make sure that you don't end up in the wrong spaces or get informed in the wrong direction, or, you know what I mean? You have all these like marketing spaces, or, you know what I mean, whatever. But I think it's difficult. You can have someone that's definitely try to ungenuinely teach you how to come into this space and to get your name out there and to get your brand out there. And it was something that I think that was a trouble that they were facing. They had came across some misinformation, and it kind of nudged in the wrong direction as far as the approach that they needed to be taking. And, you know what I mean? Like they reached out to me right before the collab, and, you know, they said, hey, like, could you give us some tips on, like, you know, what are maybe we doing wrong? What are we doing right? You know, this and that. And I got on the phone with them, and we did just that. And I gave any opinion that I could of some of the things that I thought maybe just needed a different approach. And they took it really well. And I think that's something that it is tough, of course, to, you know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to sit up here and act like we know everything. But at the same time, if you want to offer anything that you know you can strongly offer, you want it to come off as constructively and, you know, to cause that growth and that evolution as much as you can. So sometimes it's tough to give advice to people. And I'm sure even for you, John, like in the Wax Alliance, like you do have to kind of, I don't want to say put your foot down, but, you know what I mean? You almost have to make sure that these artists are understanding that things are a quality approach for a reason. So it's not to necessarily to put anyone down or anything like that. It's to better your brand and to better the product that you have to offer. And also with this space and the peer-to-peer approach, you better your marketing and your promotion. And for me, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give, aside from any of the hoorah of that you could go on for hours and hours, but in this space, make friends. Like literally genuinely make friends. Just, you know what I mean? Don't DM someone with the intentions of what's going to come out of it, or that just make friends. Just slowly fall into it with each other. Ask each other about your kids, your families, your day, your job. I mean, whatever that it is. And once you see you have these friends, this is your organic community. This is your holders. These are the people that wouldn't dare put your floor prices below a certain price, because they know the work that you put in. They know how hard it is to be here and do what we do and things like that. So for me, that would be the strongest piece of advice that I can give anyone in this space, not just Wax specifically, but this entire NFT scene that we're in here. Make friends and genuinely make friends, and you will find everything else just falls in place.
And I'll just add on to that, because I think that's very important, that you are doing that. You're establishing relationships, and at the same time, you forget that you need to take a step back and do stuff like that, because the pace of the of NFTs is so quick. But actually, the Wax blockchain is still going to be there in two months' time. You know, we're still going to be creating in 3 months, 3 years' time. So just take time out to do that, build relationships, and don't worry about anything else for the time being. Just because you find that people just want to help you. And we're finding that with the Wax Alliance. Like, we're finding creators. Listen to this. We've got creators in the Wax Alliance who have approached me personally and said, I don't really want to create my own stuff. I just want to help people. And they're like really good creators. And you just think, yeah, well, I wouldn't know that if we didn't have that conversation. And they probably didn't want to put their head above the parapet because people might have thought they were mad. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's interesting. So yeah, building relationships is a big part of the job.
I like specifically what you had said earlier in the conversation about having fun. And I think that ties in right now to where you were talking about it's important to take the time. We're going to be here. We're going to be creating collections.
Yeah.
We're all going to be making cool things. And it's important to take the time to understand where you are in the space, what you want to do, where you want to be, what your goals are, how you want to get there, but also that you're having fun along the way doing it. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot happening in the NFT space. I know we talked about how 1 year in the space really feels like about 10, or how one month you can literally have a completely different thing happening in the ecosystem from a month before. So it runs really fast, and it's important to take that time to yourself and take that time to build the relationships and really get to know people, because I mean, it's like there's a lot of really cool things happening outside of a artist's artwork, right? And people want to know about that. A huge aspect of what makes an artist valuable to somebody else is who that artist is, what they came from, to be able to create that art that they're making, right? And I think that's part of the story whenever it comes to a brand itself, especially as indie creators go, is the person creating it and what they are doing. And it's incredibly awesome that in this space we get to have that more one-on-one interaction with the artists, and get to really be in touch with the communities that we create as artists.
Yeah. Definitely. Amen.
Well, before we wrap up the space, I know that both of you have some really cool things going on. I know that there's some drops, but there's also an event. Would either of you like to talk about any of those?
He doesn't know yet. So I don't think he's even been party to the conversation. So this is going to knock his head off. So you'll have to tell me afterwards if you know, right? Crypto Kumas. But basically, I earlier on this year when I was building Drawn Company, I contacted the guys that run Comic Con UK. And I managed to get an audience with the marketing manager. Now, that was really hard, right? But I managed to do it. And basically, I did a presentation for him. And I opened up from the start of, what do you know about NFTs? And he turned around and said, well, they're very divisive, but to the Comic Con audience, they're going to be important, aren't they? And I said, let me stop you there, because, I think I can allay all the fears in your team, in the people who are coming who don't know what NFTs are, and I think we can do it by doing an education piece, and also trying to get a booth for Drawn Company and Broken Dolls, because he was in on this with me. And I got the email this week to say that we've basically been approved, so we have a booth at Comic Con UK in Birmingham between the 11th and the 13th of November. So I'm going to be exhibiting there as Drawn Company now, and Broken Dolls, and we've got Mammoth Mythics involved as well initially, right? But I did it from the point of view that this was a sort of like, let's go and ask Daddy. And if Daddy says no, then I'll go and ask Mommy, right? So I didn't want to approach Wax or Nefty Blocks or any of the big boys. I thought, I'll just go and do this. I'll do it off my own back. And if people want to be involved, they can be involved. We can have a lovely problem that we've basically got. I mean, he said in his email, you should never say this thing to Matthew. He actually turned around and said, how big do you want the booth to be? So I was like, I didn't put that in the return.
And you're like, what do you got to offer, man? I mean, how big are we talking here? Like,
what you got to offer? So, and the really cool thing is, is that we're going to be doing a panel, and at least we're going to be doing at least one panel and keynote. And what he wants us to do is a metaverse education piece, right? So what we've got now is, and this is not just for me, I haven't done this for me. I've done it for all of the creators. I've done it for Wax Blockchain. I've done it for Nifty Blocks. I've done it for Atomic Hub. I've done it for NFT Hive, right? Because I believe in what we do here. And I believe that we can break through and break out to an audience like that. Oh my God, it's so exciting. I mean, Broken Dolls texted me the other day and he was like, oh my God, we're going to Comic Con. I'm taking something I created.
Dude, do you want to know what's funny, actually? And it's funny because honestly, I literally did not know that up until I think yesterday. Last night, I think he DM'd me and he's like, dude, we're going to Comic Con in UK. So shouts out to Broken Dolls that did apparently make Kuma aware of this, but no, I was not informed. That's huge, dude. That's awesome. And I was talking to him about it, and yeah, I think that's something that we need. Like even me personally, I'm always like, damn, like we need some con presence out here. I don't care if it's like a state con, a city con, or whatever it is, but
yeah. So we've got the stand. So it's the nice problem to have now. So I need to have conversations with everybody to see what we can do at the top level. I think there's a great opportunity, isn't there? Here, I'm getting so excited and rubbing my hands together. We need to speak to someone about doing packs to give out. We can literally get people signed up there, and then, I've got ideas for the panel and the AMA where we want to get people actually creating NFTs in the space. I want it to be like an Apple keynote, yeah, but better.
So yeah, let me know, man, because I'll box some shit up right now and send you over a care package to put on your table, man. You know what I mean? Like some Kuma stickers, Kuma coffee mug. I don't care. Don't sell them. Just give them away, man. I don't care. Just, you know what I mean? Get the brand out there, bro. No, but that's huge, dude. That's super huge. All jokes aside, that's awesome. Big for the space. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we could see some, and let me know. Like I could talk to Nifty Blocks. Obviously we have the Wax fam here, so definitely let me know what comes out of it.
And just one more thing. I mean, because I am a bit of a hero for doing this, he did turn around and say, he said, well, to be honest, we've been approached by like loads of people that do NFTs, but they've always just come and said, we want to talk about, our NFTs. They're great. I do this, I do that. But you've come up it a different way. You've come up and you genuinely want to educate, the people who come to Comic Con on what you do on the Wax blockchain. So yeah, what I'm going to do is, because I've sort of announced it now to everybody, I need to put the proposal that I sent into the Wax Alliance, and I'll put that in tomorrow. So if you're not in the Wax Alliance, join the Wax Alliance and come and see what the proposal says, and see if you want to be involved in that. And we'll create some sort of structure. It's going to happen quite quickly because, we've only got 2 months, but I think the potential to do something absolutely amazing. Like we could do live streams from there. Sorry, I've got my ideas hat on now, and it's like I'm very conscious that we've been in this space for an hour and 17 minutes, so I'll shut up. But yeah, that's great. And Snazzy, if we could have a discussion about that offline, that would be fantastic.
I am so excited and prepared to have this conversation. It's been a busy week, so I know whenever you messaged me that it had been approved, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had time to talk to you about this before the Twitter space. But I'm glad we're able to have the conversation here now, because I think it is so incredibly important to let everybody know that this is something that they're able to do too. I mean, you did this on your own volition. You created your own proposal. You went through all of the steps to talk to these people, and you did an amazing job, and now you're going to be at Comic-Con, and how exciting is that?
Oh my God.
Yo, right? That's what I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a fun weekend. And hopefully, we'll get people involved on whatever level they can be involved, at all levels.
No, I'm excited to see what you guys do. Unfortunately, I won't be able to be in Europe by November, but... No. I highly expect there to be a lot of pictures, and I hope anybody in the audience below is able to attend and maybe be able to just go at least for one day, just to see what the Wax fam is up to and what our creators are really like actually putting the initiative into to onboard new people, because I mean, ultimately, this is the perfect blockchain for people who love collectibles. Wax blockchain has the ability for them to do this. All the people who are going to be at Comic-Con from major IPs are going to have the opportunity to hear about what you're doing and how you're making it, and they'll hopefully their idea light bulb in their head will be going off too.
And I think that is important, because then you get in the room with some of these other brands that now see, hey, we have the same audience, we have the same demographic, we see, you know what I mean? So they might see it then make sense to them now when they look at it from an inside perspective, to saying, okay, well, I want to now align myself, like what we talked about in the beginning of the call. I want to align myself with that creator or that individual that is doing something that's similar. So if you have collectibles and you have some of these brands that have big collectible style approaches, but just don't know the NFT space, or that aren't familiar with maybe how to get into it, or what ways to go about it, or maybe just how easy that it really is to get into the space at the end of the day. I think that's super important to be able to be there and to speak on behalf of that, because I think Betty Boop, if I'm not mistaken, was the first deal that Funko ever got to do a property. I think it was a Betty Boop, and then they got like a Bob's Burgers, or like the Big Boy Burgers, or whatever it is. So those were some of their strong properties, but that was literally a person that's seen them and that said, hey, let's give them a chance. So you might say someone that sees the work that you do, or the growth that your brand has put forward, that they might then give you that shot, and they'll put it on paper to say, hey, you can, you know what I mean, you have the IP rights to use this character, or use whatever it is. And then now you could maybe successfully onboard an entire brand into not just the NFT space, the wax space specifically, but then also now educating them on what is the possibilities of this space, and maybe drawing away some of the misconceptions of what the NFT space might be. So
that's what we're going to do.
And you're going to kill it. You're going to kill it, Matt. I'm so excited. Good. Everybody needs to be able to follow you so that they're able to hear about any news that you have or what you're planning on doing. So go ahead and tell everybody how they can find your art, how they can find your content. Give them all you got. Krypto Kumas, you do it right afterwards.
So I'm at Funny NFT Guy. Give me a follow on there if you haven't done so already. You can find the link to our Discord. Well worth nipping in there. Because again, I've created a rod for my own back. So I've created a wicked swap room, but that really hammers my secondary market, because they all swap now. But I absolutely love it, because it's like watching people on their lunch hour swapping football cards. I just love sitting back and watching them, because that's great. So follow me on there. Drawn Company, all one word. Have a search. I've got one drop live at the minute, which is the Series 3 standard packs. We sold 40 premium packs for Series 3. Hopefully get rid of the rest of them at Digicon. And then we drop in our big Drawn Company X anime action figure collection, which is Generation 2. So they're all going to be sort of animated box art for Generation 2, which is pretty exciting, just taking it up a level. And yeah, that's us. We are the office at the start of the metaverse. Sorry, Karen couldn't come. She was doing motocross and she fell off a bike. That's me, people.
That's absolutely hilarious. God, I love your comedy. Absolutely love the comedy. If you don't know Drawn's work, please, go check it out. There's some sleepers in there. Like, there's one where I'm pretty sure Karen gets in like a fight on the job, and then another one where she like rugs one of her fellow companions on the job. Absolutely beautifully executed. And you might not be a comedian, but you bring a smile to my face. So
that's what.
But yeah, no. I mean, obviously, I am Krypto Kumas. You can also find me kind of in the same direction at Krypto Kumas on Twitter. I also have a .com as well, so cryptokumas.com. You could check out things through there. There are the embedded marketplace set up on site, so if you don't feel like going through the fuss of logging in the Nifty blocks or a site and this and that, you can actually see all the drops on the bottom half of the Kuma site. So
you can just pretty much collectively check everything out there. If not on the site, then definitely follow me on Twitter here. I'm sure you'll see me around. If you haven't already, I'm the mouthy bear that runs around. But yeah, guys, that's my collection. And well, there's also the Discord as well. So if anyone that would like to join the Discord, let me know if any links might be expired, because I come across that a lot. So if you're interested in joining the Discord, definitely send me a DM, or in any other way, shape, or form. If any of you individuals down there, some of the people that might not be Wax fam, but are in here listening in, if you're curious at anything about Wax or NFTs, or maybe what we do over here, if we've piqued your interest whatsoever, you're definitely welcome to hit me up in the DMs. I'm just a regular guy. I'm not like some big project or something. Just one guy here. So yeah, you can get directly to me, and if you need any assistance, we're definitely we'll get that to happen. But yeah, that's where you guys can find Kuma.
And thanks for having us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to thank both of you for coming. Kuma, the Discord you just mentioned, is that for the Wax Alliance? How can people join the Wax Alliance you were speaking about earlier?
Oh yeah, sorry. So I'll do this. Yeah. So the Wax Alliance is just let me check. I don't know. Oh my god. So hang on. Wax. It's Wax. Oh, there it is. So it's at Wax_Alliance on Twitter. And then again, you've got the Discord link, which is working on our page. And the YouTube videos, you have to find them through the embedded link. You can't just get them sort of out there in the wild. But they are posted to Twitter now, both of them, and they're both in the Discord too.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure to meet you and speak with you. Kuma, always a pleasure. Thank you. And Kuma, always a pleasure to have you join. I'm going to also thank everyone below who decided to show up today and wanted to check out what we're doing today. We'll talk about branding. The community, and you're the reason we keep making these and are inspired to have these spaces and have different types of artists come up and share their experience and knowledge and hopefully help make spark your brains from getting some own ideas of your own. All right, this is the real community here. I want to thank everyone again. Thank you for coming. Have a great evening. Have a great morning or day, afternoon. And check out the PM Wax Wednesday space.